this spreadsheet I created before quarter 2 and quarter 3, quarter 4. I actually created it at the beginning of quarter 1. And as the quarters have been going through, I've been adding values. But if people were to look at this, or if I was to email it to somebody like the boss or present it in a meeting, how good does this look? Not so great. And it's because I've got 2 divisional errors. And you can't divide by 0, so an average, it adds up all the numbers and divides by the amount of numbers it's added up. When you have no numbers, it can't divide by 0, so you get this division by 0 error. So what I want to do is I want to use the ISERROR or ISERROR, and there are several functions that you can use. Those are the 2 that we're going to go through, the ISERROR and the ISERROR, and they evaluate different error messages. Difference between the 2 is that one just ignores the hash NA. Okay, it just shows that, whereas the other one accepts it as an error and will replace it. Depending on how you create the function. Now what I'm going to do is show you what this does on its own. So I'm in here in D12 and I'm just going to use the ISERROR, and you can see there's a lot here. I'm going to use the ISERROR, and it opens up and I choose this function, close it, and then that's it. So it returns a true if there's an error, but a false if there is no error. So what we do is we take that information and we use it, and we embed it. So instead of D10, I can actually put the whole calculation here in it, or I can get my own message, and the logical statement that I use is the if statement. So I embed the ISERROR with the calculation within the if statement. So what I do is I tend to cheat on this one. I do a cut, and that's a Control X, and then I start my if. In my logical test, I then want my ISERROR, which is not here, so I go down to my more functions, and I find my ISERROR, and you can see there's the 2 of them, and it just shows that one includes the NA, one does not, so I'm going to use the ISERROR on this one, and then I can paste my calculation, or I could have nested again, because that's basically what I'm doing, another nesting of average. I want to now go back to the if, so I do not click on the OK. What I do is I go across to the if on the formula bar, click on that, and then I can see my calculation. And basically I'm going to go into my false and paste the average again, because the logic is, if there's an error with this function, then I want it to do whatever's in the true. But if there's not an error, I actually want it to perform the average. So I put that in the false so it can perform the average. Whereas my true is my message. So this is the error message, and I'm going to put no data. Now I'm going to OK it, and it comes out with no data. I'm just going to copy that across here. And as soon as I type something in, it gets rid of no data and it puts in my average. So it's nesting an ISERROR with an if, and if necessary, yet another nesting of the calculation, in this case an average.